I moved into 48 Nestwood Lane on a Monday. Early March. The kind of gray that clings to everything like lint. I didn't care. The house was cheap, furnished, and quiet. After a year of city noise and a toxic job, I just wanted to exist in stillness. A break. A reset. Somewhere to hear myself think. And that's what it gave me. Silence. But silence can be loud, I've learned. Deafening when it wraps around things that should hum. The house was modest. 2 bedrooms, a sloped roof attic, and hardwood floors that always creaked no matter where you stepped. The master bedroom was upstairs, where the ceilings dipped and old wallpaper curled like skin around the edges. A queen-size bed, a dresser, and a ceiling fan with white blades, the kind with would finish on one side. Nothing special. I noticed it my first night. At 2:14 a.m., I wasn't asleep yet, still adjusting to the ambient weirdness of country quiet. No sirens, no neighbors through the wall, just trees brushing the siding and the rhythmic whirl of the fan above me. Then it slowed. Not just reduced speed, slowed like something was holding it back. Each blade dipped lower in sound, softer, heavier, until it seemed to move in slow motion. That's when I heard it. WHHHHHSSPPHHH. A soft, airy syllable, like someone whispering into cloth. I sat up. Nothing but the fan, still spinning. I turned it off. Silence. Then the whisper came again. The next few nights, I told myself it was just wind. A warped motor. Maybe even my ears adjusting to quiet. But then I started waking up cold. Always at the same time. 2:14 a.m. Like an invisible switch flipped. The temperature dropped. My breath fogged the air. One night I swore I felt a breeze on my neck. Not from the fan, but from behind me. Like someone was leaning over the bed and exhaling gently into my skin. I turned on the light. Nothing, but the fan blades kept turning. On March 5th, I recorded it. I set up my phone on the nightstand, voice memos running, before bed. I reviewed the audio the next morning. Mostly nothing. Wind. The occasional rustle. Then at exactly 2:14 a.m., James. One word. Raspy. Not mechanical. Human. I rewound it a dozen times. Played it half speed. It wasn't background noise. It was a voice. Saying my name. And after it, there was a wet, dragging sound. Like something heavy sliding across drywall. I went up into the attic to trace the wiring. I found something else. Tucked in the rafters above the bedroom ceiling was a small, dusty fan motor, old, rusted, and disconnected from the current system. And next to it, a photo. A woman. Black hair. Pale eyes. Standing beneath what looked like the same ceiling fan I had. There was a note scribbled on the back in smeared ink. She doesn't like when it stops. I didn't sleep that night. March 6th. The dream came clear. I was lying in bed. The fan above me slowed again. The blades became arms long, white, and thin. One dipped lower, brushing my chest. I couldn't move. Then a face formed in the fan's central bulb. Not a reflection. Not a shadow. A face. Featureless. Just indentations where eyes and mouth should be. It leaned down, hair flowing like smoke, and whispered, "You turn it off again." I woke up screaming. I booked a hotel that day. 2 towns over. New linens. No ceiling fan. Just AC vents and fluorescent lights. I still heard it. Not in the room, but in the white noise of everything else. The vending machine buzz. The vent hum. The traffic outside. A whisper behind the sound. WHHHHHSSPPHHH. I stayed up the whole night. I came back to the house on March 8th. All my clothes were scattered. Not stolen, just unrolled, unfolded, twisted into cords, and laid out in circles around the bed. The fan was still spinning, even though I had shut off the breaker. I know how this sounds. Delusional, stress-induced, sleep-deprived, but I wasn't crazy. I was listening, and something in that fan, something intelligent, was speaking back. And I had a feeling I had already missed the chance to ignore it. I didn't sleep much after that first week. I stopped expecting rest and started timing it. How long I could stay awake before my head sagged, before my mind dipped just far enough to hear the fan start to whisper again. The noise wasn't constant. That made it worse. It waited. I felt like it was learning when I was weakest. And every night, at 2:14 a.m., it whispered something new. I ripped the fan out on March 9th. Not turned it off, not unplugged it, ripped it out of the ceiling. I used a screwdriver and a crowbar and tore it down, wires and all. I thought if I just got rid of it, this would stop. I put the whole mess, blades, motor, cords, into a trash bag and shoved it in the shed out back. That night, I slept on the floor of the living room. It was cold again. Not drafty old house cold, intentional cold. Like the temperature dropped only where I lay. And then, just before I fell asleep, I heard a soft metallic creak from upstairs. I looked at the ceiling. The fan was gone, but I could hear it spinning. March 10th, I woke to a sharp pain in my foot. I'd stepped on something. It was a fan blade. One of the blades I'd removed and thrown out. But now it was lying on the hallway floor, clean, not rusted, not chipped. The oddest part? It wasn't the same model I had. It was older, heavier, painted cream white. The edge curved like something from the 1940s. There were letters etched into the wood. Not engraved, scratched. Listen, I started recording everything again. I left my phone running from 2 to 3 a.m. I didn't play it back until afternoon. Each night, the whispering grew louder. Not clearer, louder. By March 11th, the whispers weren't alone. There was a second voice, a man's voice. Distant, trembling, sometimes screaming, sometimes just muttering. The female whisper was always calm, always right up against the mic, like someone leaning down to breathe into the recorder. Don't turn your back. Another recording caught the man sobbing. She climbs down when it stops. Please don't make it stop. That's when I noticed the power light on the fan's broken motor in the attic. It was glowing. March 12th. I went into the attic again. I brought gloves and a flashlight and told myself if there was anything else up there, I was going to burn it and be done. In the corner, under a layer of dust, I found a trapdoor. It wasn't listed on the floor plans. I had checked, but there it was, a small square of reinforced wood, bolted shut with 3 rusted latches. I forced it open. Below was a narrow crawl space lined in decaying insulation. And at the far end, I saw it, a small circular room, maybe 6 feet across. Wallpaper peeling, floor scorched black in a spiral pattern, as if something had once spun violently fast. There was another fan in the ceiling. This one had 4 blades and no light fixture. It was turning. There were no wires. Taped behind a piece of the rotting wallpaper, I found a small leather-bound notebook. The handwriting was spidery, erratic. The entries were dated 1979. She came back when the baby cried. The wind in the blades carried her face. He said if the fan stops, she walks. I let it stop. I heard her nails. The wind carries her. Every turn, she listens. If you hear your name, don't look up. I unplugged it. She plugged it back in. Through the wall. Through the house. She's part of the house. And on the last page, if the air ever stops moving, run. I came home that evening and the house smelled like lavender. Old lavender. Funeral lavender. The kind of scent you'd find pressed in a dead woman's coat pocket. There were handprints on the mirror, too small for me, too long in the fingers. That night, I stayed awake in the hallway. I watched the bedroom through the cracked door. At exactly 2:14 a.m., the room went silent. Then the blades, now not attached to anything, started spinning in midair. The ceiling fan was back, floating, rotating with a sound like breath through teeth. Then a voice said, "Do you remember hanging me here?" I didn't move. I didn't answer. And I never turned my back to the fan again. I've started to measure time differently. Not in hours or days. Not even in sunrises. I measure it in rotations. Each turn of the fan above my bed is a tick. Each slow descent into silence is a talk. And when it pauses, when the blades stall midair, time vanishes. I don't mean metaphorically. I mean I'll blink and lose hours. On the morning of March 15th, I stood under the fan with a stopwatch. It was supposed to be disconnected. I had cut every wire, but it was still spinning, slow, uneven like a dying heartbeat. I timed it. 22 seconds per rotation. Exactly. I waited. Another. 22 seconds. Again and again. 5 hours passed. I didn't eat. I didn't blink. Every single turn was exactly 22 seconds. Except the last one. That one took 7 minutes. And when it stopped, truly stopped, I heard a knock at the front door. Not a rap. A knock. Solid. Slow. 3 times. I didn't answer. That night, I left the fan room. I slept on the floor of the hallway, wrapped in 2 coats and an old sleeping bag. I kept my back to the wall. Around 2 a.m., I noticed something. The hallway vent was hissing. Just a low, constant exhale, like someone breathing into the duct. When I leaned close, I could hear a voice inside it, singing. Off tune, childlike. I recorded it, played it back the next morning. All I heard was static. But when I slowed the audio, turn on, let spin, she lives inside the wind again. I didn't want to bring anyone else into this, but I was unraveling, and part of me needed someone else to see it. So I called Rachel. She hadn't been to the house since that first night she spent over, the one where she woke up screaming. But she came anyway, probably because she still cared, probably because I sounded broken on the phone. She came on the 16th. By midnight, we were sitting on the edge of the bed together, staring up at the dead ceiling where the fan had once been. I don't hear anything, she said. I didn't answer, but at 2:14 a.m., her face went white. She turned to me slowly and whispered. It just said your name. The fan wasn't there. But Rachel backed away from the ceiling like it was. Rachel left at 3 a.m. and swore she'd call help. She didn't. Not because she didn't want to, but because she couldn't. Her phone recorded something that night. I got the audio 2 days later in an email titled, "Don't stay there tonight." I still have it. At first, it's just her talking, telling me she's going to call someone, that she's worried. Then there's a loud creaking, like a rope straining under weight. And then, Rachel. He hung me for forgetting the fan. The last voice wasn't mine, and it wasn't hers. It was something else. I set up a GoPro facing the ceiling. I didn't think I'd catch anything, but I was desperate. That night, I lay motionless on the bed and stared at the ceiling where the fan used to hang. At 2:14 a.m., the room got dark. I don't mean dim. I mean unnaturally black, like someone had smothered all the light, not just the bulbs, but the space itself. The GoPro caught it. A figure descended from the ceiling, elongated arms, joints bent backward, eyes hollow and wide. It touched the place where the fan once spun. Then it looked directly into the camera and mouthed something. Frame by frame, I studied it. The word was remember. I started peeling back wallpaper in the fan room, looking for more writing, more clues. Behind one panel, I found a word etched deep into the plaster. Behind another, watches. And behind a third, covering a hole in the wall, beneath. Inside the hole, wrapped in faded cloth, was a newspaper article from 1966. The headline read, "Woman missing after apparent suicide by hanging. Fan malfunction suspected." The photo showed the same ceiling fan. Same blades. Same bulb. Same warp pull chain. I looked closer. In the corner of the photo, barely visible, was a man's silhouette. He looked just like me. March 17th. I stopped fighting it. The fan isn't just a device. It's a vessel, a conductor for her, for whatever is left of her. She doesn't exist without motion. She becomes the air. And now, she's everywhere in this house. In the closet, in the mirror. In a way, my own breath stops and starts in rhythm. Sometimes I feel her fingers grazing my throat. Other times I wake up standing, just standing in front of the ceiling where the fan used to be, looking up, listening, and somewhere in that slow, invisible turn, she whispers again, "Let me spin. Sleep is not rest. Sleep is a surrender." And here, in this house, surrendering means giving her room to move. So I haven't slept. Not properly. Not since the dreams became visits. Not since the fan began to exist where it shouldn't, inside me, around me, in reflections, in sounds that no longer belong to this world. She isn't a ghost. She isn't a memory. She is motion. And the fan is just her favorite doorway. March 18th. It reappeared. The fan, I mean. One moment, there was just ceiling, white paint, slight water stain in the corner, the ghost ring where the base once sat. Then the pull chain dropped down. Just the chain. No blades. No motor. No sound. I stared at it for maybe 2 full minutes before I reached up. I don't remember pulling it. I don't remember touching it. But my next memory was standing at the foot of the stairs, breathing hard, palms raw and bleeding, and the fan was spinning again. Just like before. Whisper slow, breath slow, like it was listening. That night, I recorded again. Now with my phone. This time, I used a reel-to-reel machine I'd picked up from an estate sale last year. Analog. No chance for digital corruption. I let it run through the night. In the morning, I played it back. At exactly 2:14 a.m., the fan clicks on in the audio, though there was no electricity in the house. I had shut it all off from the main. Then comes her voice. Jams. A breath. "James, why did you stop the wind?" Another breath. "The air remembers what you did." And then, something that still chills me when I even think about it. "You hung me to silence me. Now you'll spin with me." March 19th. The landlord showed up unannounced. He said he'd been trying to reach me for days, worried about complaints from neighbors about screaming and something spinning too loud at night. I didn't let him in, but he insisted on looking around. When he walked upstairs, he froze at the bedroom door. "I thought you said you removed the fan," he said. "I did." "Then what the hell is that?" We both stared up at the ceiling. The fan was back. Not just a fan, a new one. Polished brass. Elegant curves. Wooden blades. Not mine. Not one I ever installed. It spun perfectly. Silently. Hypnotically. The landlord backed out of the room. "I'm sending someone," he muttered. "This house isn't right." He never came back. March 20th. I placed a mirror on the bed, angled to reflect the ceiling while I sat facing away from it. For 15 minutes, nothing happened. Then the fan started spinning. I saw it in the mirror, its blades slowing, warping, bending inward like they were curling into themselves. Then, a face appeared in the center, not in the mirror, in the fan, eyes black and recessed, mouth hanging open, lower jaw unhinged too far, hair floating like she was underwater. She whispered something. I didn't hear it in the room. I heard it in my head. "The spiral is mine." March 21st, 4:03 a.m. My landline rang. It hadn't rung in months. I'd nearly forgotten I still had it. I answered. Silence. Then tick, 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 like the sound of a fan's rotation. Slow, constant. Then her voice, clear and cruel. "If you try to leave, I'll keep your breath in the blades." Then she hung up. I tried. I packed a single bag and ran out the door. I didn't make it 10 steps before I was on the ground, gasping. It felt like the wind had been pulled out of my lungs. I looked up. There was no wind, no trees moving, nothing. But I heard it again above me, inside me. WHHHHHPPP. That slow, endless whisper of air moving where air shouldn't. I crawled back into the house and collapsed. And when I woke up, the fan was spinning again. This time on the floor. Blades twirling with no motor. No ceiling. No power. Just motion. And her voice. "You're part of the house now. I haven't left since." I don't think I can. I think the spiral has wound too tight around me. And every time I breathe, I feel the air tug at my soul like it's learning my rhythm. Soon, I'll forget how to stop it. By now, I no longer count time by day or night. I measured it in spirals. The spin of the fan was a ritual, a clock, a language. And the longer I stayed in the house, the more I began to feel its rhythm, not just in my head, but in my bones. Each rotation wasn't just motion. It was a memory. March 22nd, early morning. My computer, long dead, turned itself on at 2:13 a.m. No power surge, no battery backup. Just a click, a flicker, and it was glowing in the dark. It opened a single file. One I never made. 8-Wave file. Untitled. It began with silence. Then a soft metallic squeal. Then a voice. My voice. "She won't let me go. The house spins. The air spins. My thoughts spin." Then static. Then a second voice. "You left me hanging." Then, unmistakably, James Morgan was the first. "You're the last." The file disappeared before I could save it. I swear I didn't record it, but it knew my voice. Midday, March 22nd. The far bedroom wall was weeping. Literal tears, not condensation. Thick, milky trails dripping down from the ceiling fan's former spot, staining the paint. I scraped the wall and uncovered lines of names, hundreds, maybe more, written in soot or ash. One name stood out. Morgan J., dated 1894. I wasn't the first James Morgan here. I traced the house's records. There had been 4 other men with that name, none related. Each had lived in this house. Each had vanished. Each, according to neighbors and archived notes, had installed a ceiling fan shortly before disappearing. Rachel returned. She hadn't slept in 2 days, haunted by dreams of me standing under a spinning fan, face blurry and wrong. She brought a Polaroid camera, hoping that analog film would show what we couldn't. We took one photo of the bedroom ceiling. It developed instantly. The picture showed me standing in the middle of the room, but my back was bent like I was mid-fall. Arms out, head twisted at an unnatural angle. And above me, the ceiling fan had a face, mouth open in a scream. The blades were now fingers long and spindly. And worst of all, beneath my feet was a shadow hanging. Not cast by me, cast by someone dangling from an invisible rope. We burned the picture. That night, I called 911. I didn't know what else to do. They picked up. I barely got the words out. I'm trapped. Something's in my house. The fan won't stop spinning. There was a pause. Then a recording played back at me. Don't hang up, James. I'm almost done spinning. The call ended. I pulled the phone from the wall. It kept ringing anyway. March 23rd. I remember the old maintenance hatch behind the water heater. It led to a crawl space I'd never dared enter. I went in. There was another fan down there. Much older. Made of bone-white wood and rusted bronze. Still spinning. The air was stale. Heavy. But the fan moved like it was caught in a storm, whipping in a blur. On the floor beneath it, a noose. A pair of shoes. A photograph, water-stained and faded. It was me, but older. Tired. Dressed in black. I don't own that suit. March 24th. I feel the spin in my lungs now. Every breath I take pulls something from the house into me. I've started gasping, even in sleep. And worse, the fan is now in the mirror. Not a reflection. A presence. Behind me. Watching. Sometimes when I turn quickly, I catch a glimpse of a woman floating behind me. Her body turns with the blades. Her hair never moves. Her eyes never blink. But her mouth keeps repeating one phrase in silence. You're almost ready. That night, I woke up unable to move. I was tied to the bed with cords of my own clothing twisted tight. The ceiling above me was bare. Then the air shifted. The fan began to form from the dust, from the shadows, piece by piece. Blade, motor, chain, her face. Each blade creaked to life, turning slower than ever before, each rotation taking a full minute. And with each full spin, I lost something, the sound of my name, the feeling in my hands, my memory of Rachel's voice, my will to fight, my connection to time, until I couldn't tell what was inside me and what was part of the house. The fan was me. The air was hers. If you find this, burn the fan, burn the room, burn the air if you have to, but never let the blades stop spinning. Because if they do, she walks. And if she walks, you hang. When the fan finally stopped, the silence wasn't peaceful. It was grief. The house didn't creak. The walls didn't breathe. The air didn't move. It was like being inside the pause between two heartbeats, the moment before death realizes it's too late to pull back. And in that stillness, I remembered everything. I wasn't the first. Not the first James Morgan. Not the first tenant. Not the first to be drawn into the rhythm of that house. In the final hours, memories that weren't mine came rushing in, splinters of other lives. Other James Morgans, each one years apart, always alone, always finding the same room. Each one believing they could silence her by removing the fan. But the fan was never the source. The fan was a symbol. It marked the house as hers. One man hanged himself beneath it in 1923, convinced the blade shadows were spelling out his sins. Another removed the chain and sealed the door. She sang to him through the vents until he tore his own throat out. And another, older, weaker, just vanished. Neighbors say they saw his reflection in their windows for weeks. Rachel came back one last time. I had stopped answering calls. She drove in from out of state and broke into the house through the kitchen window. I never heard her come in. I was sitting beneath the spinning fan, motionless, eyes locked on the slow-turning blades. She said I looked dead but awake. She screamed my name. It echoed too long. I blinked once and whispered, "Don't stop it. Don't stop it." But she reached for the switch, and that's when the house screamed. The fan stopped at exactly 2:14 a.m. The second it did, everything died. The lights, the heat, the time. Rachel said the air grew thick and black, like water, like a cave. Then the walls began to bleed. Real blood. From the corners. From the vents. From the floorboards. And in the dark, she saw the woman. Pale. Tall. Floating. Hair drifting like smoke in water. Eyes open too wide. And in each hand, a noose. Tumben moved the same for me. While Rachel screamed, while the house twisted itself into some kind of impossible shape, I was standing inside a mirror that wasn't a mirror. A hallway of fans, all spinning slowly, blades made of teeth and bone and hair. On each fan was a name. All of them were mine. One blade had Rachel's name etched into it. And as the fan turned, the letters began to peel like skin. The whispering filled the hall. She never leaves. She never forgets. She was hanged in silence. Now she hangs in wind. I turned to run, but the hallway folded into itself. And then I was back in the room. Rachel was gone. They never found her. Not in the house. Not in the woods. Not in the surrounding area. But the responding officer who entered the bedroom said something strange. It was like the fan had grown into the ceiling, into the house. You could see veins, like roots. They removed me from the home, said I was catatonic, malnourished, delusional. They never asked about the fan again, but I still feel it, the pull, the slow hum, the breath behind the blades. At the psychiatric center, my room had no ceiling fan, just a vent and fluorescent lights. I begged them to remove the vent. They thought I was paranoid. That night, I heard the whisper again. You stopped me once. You'll never stop me again. The light flickered. The vent cover shook, and the air went cold. I knew then, she doesn't need a fan anymore. She's in the air itself. She's part of me. If you're reading this, if you've ever felt the air stop too suddenly, if your fan slows down at night, and you swear you hear a whisper that isn't real, it is. She is. You don't have to believe me. But if you see a ceiling fan begin to slow at exactly 2:14 a.m., don't sit beneath it. Don't close your eyes. And never, ever turn it off. Because she remembers what silence felt like. And she'll do anything to never feel it again. She used to whisper behind the blades. Now she lives in the pause between the spins. And soon, when I'm gone, she'll need someone new. So if the wind feels wrong, it's already too late.